Pinatay na, pinalatan pang mukha ng isang dalagita sa Lapu-Lapu City sa Cebu.
Before we dive in, if you appreciate the deep research that goes into these stories, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe. It helps more than you know. But first, let me tell you about the girl whose face was stolen. March 11, 2019, 6:47 a.m. A man walks across an empty field in Lapu-Lapu City, Philippines. The morning air is thick, humid, silent. It's the kind of morning where everything feels still, almost frozen in time. The sun is just beginning to rise, casting long shadows across the barren landscape. And then, he sees it. From a distance, it looks like garbage, maybe a torn cardboard box. Brown, red-stained, crumpled against the dry earth. But as he gets closer, something stops him cold. Something about the shape, something about the way it's positioned. Because cardboard boxes don't have legs. His heart pounds. His breath catches in his throat. Every instinct tells him to turn around, to walk away, but he can't. He moves closer, step by hesitant step, and that's when he sees her. A teenage girl, naked from the waist down, her body still, lifeless, abandoned in this desolate field like she was nothing. But it's her face. Her face is what makes him scream. Because it's been peeled off. Skull exposed. Eye sockets hollow. Flesh burned and torn away like she was never meant to be identified. Like someone wanted to erase her very existence. This wasn't murder. This was erasure. This was something beyond comprehension. Beyond human understanding. And in the hours that follow, as word spreads through the small community, investigators will realize something even more chilling. The victim had been smiling in church just 12 hours earlier. She'd been singing hymns. She'd been praying. She'd been safe. Her name was Christine Lee Silawan. She was 16 years old, and the person who did this to her had been chatting with her online for months. Building trust, building a relationship, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. What you're about to hear is one of the most disturbing cases in recent Philippine history. A case so brutal, so calculated, so utterly horrifying that her name became a forbidden keyword on search engines. Major platforms had to actively censor searches because the leaked images were so graphic, so traumatizing, that they violated every content policy imaginable. A case where jealousy, obsession, and digital deception collided in the worst possible way. This is the story of Christine Lee Silawan, and the question that still haunts her mother today, the question that keeps her awake at night, the question that may never be answered. Did they catch the right person? Let's rewind. Let's go back to the beginning. To understand what happened in that field, we need to understand who Christine was. Not just as a victim, but as a person, as a daughter, as a sister, as a friend. Christine Lee Silawan was 16, a ninth grader at Maribago National High School, the second of 4 siblings. She lived in a modest home in Lapu-Lapu City with her mother, Lourdes, and her younger siblings. It was a tight-knit family, the kind where everyone looked out for each other. Her older sister was a teacher at a local school, a role model in the community. Her younger siblings, aged 13 and 14, looked up to Christine with the kind of admiration that only younger siblings can have. She was their protector, their confidant, their friend. Christine was known among her peers for being kind, joyful, always ready with a smile. She was the kind of girl who lit up a room when she walked in. The kind of girl who made everyone around her feel seen and valued. Her mother, Lourdes, would later fondly recall how Christine aspired to be a flight attendant when she was young. She would talk about traveling the world, seeing new places, meeting new people. She would share these dreams with her younger siblings, painting vivid pictures of the life she wanted to build for herself. But Christine wasn't just a dreamer. She was actively involved in her community. Records show that she was a dedicated volunteer at her local church, the Sacred Heart Parish. She was deeply involved in religious activities and was a familiar, beloved face at the parish. Every Sunday, Christine had a routine, a ritual that she rarely missed. 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Sacred Heart Parish. Like clockwork, her mother, Lourdes, would describe Christine as joyful, kind, faithful, the kind of daughter who still shared her dreams with her family. The kind of daughter who never forgot where she came from. But Christine, like most teenagers in 2019, had a secret life. A digital one. On Facebook Messenger, she talked to friends. She talked to classmates. She shared memes, gossip, the typical teenage conversations that happen in the digital age. And she talked to someone named CJ Diaz. CJ seemed perfect. He said he was 16 years old. Charming, attentive. He said all the right things at all the right times. He made her feel seen. He made her feel special. He made her feel like she mattered. And in the world of teenage romance, that's everything. They'd been talking for months. Since late 2018, 5 months of daily conversations. 5 months of building trust. 5 months of Christine believing she had found someone who understood her. And on March 10, 2019, a Sunday, Christine agreed to meet him for the first time. After church, she told her mother she'd be home by 7:30. Just like always, she never came home. By 8 p.m., Lourdes Silawan was frantic, pacing, calling Christine's phone over and over, each call going straight to voicemail. Christine never broke routine. She never stayed out late. She never worried her mother like this. Something was wrong. Deeply, terribly wrong. Lourdes rushed to the police station, filed a missing persons report. Her hands were shaking as she filled out the paperwork, her voice breaking as she described her daughter. And as the night deepened, as the hours ticked by without any word, the entire community began searching. Neighbors, friends, church members, everyone who knew Christine took to the streets, calling her name, checking every corner, every alley, every place she might have gone. Praying, hoping, begging God for her safe return. But by then, Christine was already beyond saving. By then, the unthinkable had already happened. The next morning, March 11th, as dawn broke over Lapu-Lapu City, the field was swarming with people. Police officers, villagers, journalists who had caught wind of something terrible. And they all saw the same thing, a white sheet, fluttering in the wind, revealing glimpses of what lay beneath with each gust. The crowd stood in stunned silence. Some were crying, others were praying. Many couldn't bring themselves to look. When the autopsy report came back later that day, it confirmed the community's worst fears. The body was Christine Lee Silawan. But what had been done to her? What had been inflicted upon this innocent 16-year-old girl? I need to warn you again. What I'm about to describe is extremely disturbing. But it's important to understand the full scope of this crime. The full horror of what happened to Christine. 27 stab wounds, 9 on her arms, defensive wounds suggesting she fought back. 1 to the neck, likely the fatal blow that ended her life. But that wasn't the worst part. Her face had been cut off, peeled away from her skull. Sections of her skull were exposed to the open air. Her right ear was missing. Parts of her tongue, her windpipe, gone. Investigators found traces of sulfuric acid on her face. Burn marks. Deliberate, calculated mutilation. Someone had tried to make her unrecognizable. Someone had tried to erase her identity, to turn her into a nameless, faceless victim. And then there was the evidence of sexual assault. Severe internal injuries, bruising, bleeding. The medical examiner noted that extreme force had been used. This wasn't a crime of passion. This wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment. This was premeditated. This was planned. This was evil. Images of Christine's body leaked online within hours. Uncensored, graphic, Horrifying beyond description, the photos went viral across social media platforms. Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp groups. They spread like wildfire, each shared traumatizing more people. People couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Some couldn't look at meat for weeks afterward. The images burned into their minds. And the entire nation asked the same question, a question that echoed through every household, every conversation. Who could do this? What kind of monster could do this to a child? At first, investigators thought they had their answer. A 62-year-old man named Jonas Martel Bueno. Jonas had a dark history. He'd been convicted before, for skinning a farmer, for murder. He'd served his time and been released, supposedly rehabilitated. But there were rumors, dark, twisted rumors that circulated through the community like poison, that Jonas and his brothers were members of a cult that reportedly required its followers to eat human flesh, to consume their victims. The similarities between Christine's case and Jonas's previous crime were too strong to ignore, too disturbing to be coincidence. Jonas was arrested immediately, dragged from his home in handcuffs as neighbors watched. Social media exploded. People were convinced Jonas was guilty. His past made him the perfect villain, the perfect monster. But here's the thing. Jonas had no idea who Christine was. Jonas Martel Bueno sat in that interrogation room, confused, terrified, his weathered hands trembling. He'd already served his time. He'd already paid for his crimes. He thought his past was behind him. He thought he could live out his remaining years in peace. And now, he was being accused of murdering a teenage girl he'd never met, never seen, never heard of. Social media was calling for his blood. People were convinced Jonas was guilty. His past made him the perfect villain, the perfect scapegoat. But after days of intense interrogation, after hours of questioning, after checking and rechecking every detail, the evidence didn't match. Jonas had an alibi, multiple witnesses, proof of where he'd been on the night of March 10th. He was released, and just like that, the investigation was back to square one. The community was outraged, frustrated, desperate for answers. But then, investigators found something. CCTV footage, grainy, dark, shot from a poor angle, but clear enough. It showed Christine walking with a man on the night she disappeared. The timestamp read 7:15 p.m., just 15 minutes after she should have been home. She looked comfortable, calm, no signs of distress. She was walking casually beside him, not running, not struggling. Which meant one thing. She knew him. She trusted him. This was someone she felt safe with, someone she had no reason to fear. Investigators dove into Christine's phone, her messages, her social media accounts. They went through everything, every conversation, every comment, every interaction. And they found two names that stood out. One was CJ Diaz, the online boyfriend she'd been talking to for months, the person she'd been planning to meet that night. The other, John, her ex-boyfriend. And suddenly, the case took a very different turn, a direction no one had expected. John was 16 years old, just a kid himself, Christine's ex-boyfriend. They dated for nearly a year before she broke up with him, just days before her murder. Less than a week. To investigators, the motive was obvious: revenge. A scorned teenage boy unable to handle rejection. They theorized that John had created the fake CJ Diaz account to lure Christine, to manipulate her, to get close to her again after she'd pushed him away. And when she rejected him in person, when she realized what he'd done, he snapped. John's mother fought back fiercely. She gave a detailed timeline of his whereabouts on March 10th, accounting for every single hour, morning, cleaning his room. She'd been with him, afternoon, playing basketball with friends at the local court until late afternoon. Evening, home for dinner by 7 p.m., in bed by 8. His friends confirmed the basketball game. His brother confirmed he'd been home. The timeline seemed solid, but the police weren't convinced. They had their narrative and they were sticking to it. They pointed to a shirt John owned, similar to the one worn by the man in the CCTV footage. Dark-colored, common style. They pointed to his cracked phone screen, allegedly damaged during a struggle with Christine. Never mind that cracked phone screens are incredibly common among teenagers. And then, they got a confession. John confessed, sitting in that interrogation room, exhausted, scared, alone. This 16-year-old boy confessed to murdering Christine Lee Silawan. But here's the problem. Here's the detail that should have stopped everything. He confessed without a lawyer present. He was 16 years old, a minor, alone in an interrogation room with adult police officers, under immense pressure, possibly coerced, possibly manipulated. The confession was later deemed inadmissible in court, thrown out, but the damage was done. Public opinion had already turned against him. Social media had already convicted him. His name was dragged through the mud. John was sent for psychiatric evaluation. The goal? To determine if he could distinguish right from wrong, to assess his mental state. He passed. The evaluation showed he had a sound sense of reality, and prosecutors used that against him. They twisted it. They argued that if he was mentally sound, then he knew exactly what he was doing when he killed Christine. He knew right from wrong, which made him culpable. The police issued statements, press conferences. They paraded in front of cameras, announcing they were convinced they had their man. The police regional office released a statement saying, he possessed the technical skills required. We cannot dismiss the possibility of minors committing crimes as grave as those committed by adults. But something didn't add up. Something felt wrong. The evidence was circumstantial, weak, flimsy at best, based almost entirely on a coerced confession and a similar-looking shirt. No DNA evidence. No physical evidence linking him to the crime scene. No witnesses. Christine's mother, Lourdes, believed John was guilty. She needed someone to blame, someone to hate. The community believed it too. They needed closure. They needed justice. But then, everything changed. April 9, 2019. Nearly a month after Christine's murder. Nearly a month of John sitting in custody, his life destroyed, his family shunned. The police made a shocking announcement. They had a new suspect. And this time, he wasn't a teenager. He wasn't a scorned ex-boyfriend. He was something far worse. His name was Renato Panlenes. 43 years old, father of 5 children, a family man by all appearances. He was arrested on completely unrelated charges, illegal possession of a firearm and drugs. A routine bust, nothing to do with Christine's case. But while in custody, while being questioned about the weapons charge, Renato did something nobody expected. He confessed, not to the weapons charge, to murdering Christine Lee Silawan. The interrogation room went silent. Officers exchanged glances. This had to be a mistake. And what he said next sent chills through the entire investigation. Through the entire country, Renato admitted that he was CJ Diaz, the charming 16-year-old boy Christine had been talking to for months. That was him, a 43-year-old man, a predator. He'd created multiple fake Facebook accounts, different names, different faces, different personas. He lured young girls into conversations, built trust, built relationships, groomed them. Christine was just one of many, one of dozens. They'd been talking since late 2018. 5 months of daily messages, compliments, promises, lies. And when Christine finally asked to meet CJ in person, when she was ready to take that step, Renato panicked. He made excuses, delays. I'm sick. I have family commitments. Let's wait a little longer. But eventually, he convinced himself she wouldn't reject him. He convinced himself that their connection was real. That age didn't matter, that she would understand. On March 10th, after church, Renato showed up, waiting near Sacred Heart Parish, watching for her. And when Christine saw him, a middle-aged man instead of the teenage boy she expected, she was horrified. Disgusted, terrified, she wanted to leave immediately. She turned to walk away, but Renato was persistent. He grabbed her arm. He insisted on walking her home. He wouldn't let her go. And during that walk, somewhere between the church and that empty field, he asked her for sex. Christine refused. Of course she refused. She was disgusted, scared. This wasn't the person she thought she knew. She told him she was going to call her ex-boyfriend, John, to come get her, to rescue her from this nightmare. And that's when Renato snapped. Jealousy, rage, humiliation. The rejection was too much. The mention of another man was too much. He dragged Christine to the empty field. She fought, she screamed, but no one heard, or if they did, no one came. What happened next is almost too horrific to describe, almost too evil to comprehend. But it's important, because it shows the true depths of what jealousy and obsession can drive someone to do. According to Renato's confession, he used a pair of scissors, a simple household item, transformed into an instrument of torture. He stabbed Christine over 30 times. Arms, torso, neck, each blow driven by rage and hate. And then, he began cutting. He peeled the skin off her face. Slowly, deliberately, with precision. He said he did it to prevent her from being identified, to buy himself time, to avoid capture. He claimed he'd learned the technique from videos on social media, Facebook, YouTube, videos that taught him how to mutilate a human face, how to remove skin, how to erase identity. He admitted to using drugs before the attack, methamphetamine, something to give him courage, something to numb his conscience. He said his conscience was haunted afterward, that he couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't look at himself in the mirror. When he heard that John, a 16-year-old boy, was being blamed, was sitting in custody, was having his life destroyed, Renato couldn't take it anymore. That's why he confessed, he claimed, to ease his guilt, to stop an innocent kid from being punished, to finally do something right. But here's where the story gets even darker, even more disturbing, because Renato's confession didn't explain everything. It didn't account for all the evidence. The autopsy showed Christine had been sexually assaulted, violently, repeatedly. Renato denied it. He insisted he never touched her that way. The autopsy showed bite marks on her body, human teeth marks. Renato couldn't explain them. The autopsy revealed missing organs, parts of her tongue, her windpipe, sections of her neck. Renato couldn't, or wouldn't, explain where they went. Investigators found sulfuric acid burns on her face, deliberate chemical burns. Renato admitted to the acid, but not the other details. His story had holes, big ones. And then there was the location, the logistics. The field was close to residential homes, less than 50 meters from the nearest house. It was early evening, not even 8 p.m. yet. People were still awake, still moving around. How could someone drag a teenage girl into a field, stab her over 30 times, mutilate her face, assault her, and spend what must have been at least an hour committing these atrocities, without a single person hearing screams? Without a single witness? Without any physical evidence beyond the body itself? Something didn't add up. Something felt incomplete. Many investigators privately believed there had to be more than one person involved. An accomplice, someone who helped, someone who kept watch. But before they could dig deeper, before they could ask more questions, Renato made sure they never would. May 24, 2020. Over a year after Christine's murder, over a year of waiting for trial, the COVID-19 pandemic had hit the Philippines hard. Lockdowns, quarantines, courts were closed, Trials were delayed indefinitely. Renato sat in his detention cell, waiting, and waiting, and waiting, and then he was found dead. Prison guards discovered Renato hanging in the bathroom of his detention cell during a routine check. They cut him down immediately, performed CPR, called for medical assistance. He was rushed to the hospital, but he was already gone, already beyond saving. Suicide, that was the official ruling. Self-inflicted hanging, no note, no explanation, no final confession, and with his death, any chance of finding the full truth died with him. All the unanswered questions, all the inconsistencies, all the missing pieces, gone. The case was officially closed. File sealed. Investigation concluded. But for Christine's mother, Lourdes, closure never came. It never could, because too many questions remain unanswered. Too many details don't make sense. Was Renato telling the truth? Was he really acting alone? Or was he covering for someone else? Someone more powerful? Someone more dangerous? What happened to Christine's missing organs? Were they taken as trophies? Destroyed? Something worse. Why were there bite marks on her body? Who made them? How did no one hear her screams? In a residential area? In the early evening? And was John really innocent? Or was there more to the story than anyone wanted to admit? Did he know about CJ Diaz? Were they connected somehow? These questions haunt Lourdes every single day. They keep her awake at night. They follow her through every moment. In the Philippines, the death penalty was abolished in 2006 under President Gloria Arroyo. The country joined the growing list of nations that rejected capital punishment. But Christine's case reignited the debate, reopened old wounds. Thousands took to social media demanding justice, demanding harsher penalties for crimes like this, demanding blood for blood. The hashtag Yes to Death Penalty trended for days. For weeks, Filipinos across the country and around the world shared their outrage because people wanted to believe that monsters like this couldn't just disappear, that they couldn't just end their own lives and escape justice, that there had to be accountability, consequences, punishment. But the truth is, they do disappear. They do escape, every day, all around the world. And sometimes they're hiding behind a screen, behind a fake profile, behind a carefully constructed lie, pretending to be someone they're not, pretending to be younger, kinder, safer, waiting for the right moment, the right victim, the right opportunity. Christine trusted CJ Diaz. She thought he was 16, charming, safe, someone her own age, someone who understood her. She had no idea she was walking into a trap, a carefully laid trap that had been set months in advance. She had no idea that the person she'd been pouring her heart out to was a 43-year-old predator. Today, Christine's case remains one of the most horrifying in Philippine history. Her name is still banned from search engines because of the graphic images that circulated online. Major platforms actively block searches containing her full name to prevent the traumatic photos from resurfacing. Her mother still believes the real killer was never caught, or that Renato didn't act alone. That somewhere out there, someone else knows what really happened in that field. And somewhere out there, someone does. Someone knows more than they're saying. Maybe an accomplice who got away. Maybe someone who saw something but stayed silent. Maybe someone who helped cover it up. The truth is out there, hidden, protected, buried. Christine Lee Silawan was 16 years old. She wanted to be a flight attendant. She wanted to see the world. She volunteered at church every Sunday. She was devoted to her faith. She loved her family. Her younger siblings adored her. She trusted the wrong person. She believed what she was told online, and she paid for it with her life. If this story affected you, there's another case on your screen right now that I think was made for you. Check it out, and remember, not everyone online is who they say they are. Verify, question, protect yourself. Stay safe out there.